views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Hello and welcome to Bellas Fashionistas Home Edition. I am your host, Flores Rubello. It is a pleasure to have you join us on this beautiful afternoon. We trust that you and your loved ones are well and staying safe. In today's Bellas FireSide chat conversation, we welcome entrepreneur, author, philanthropist, speaker, and founder of Let Me Be Great Foundation, an organization that connects promising young talent with high caliber professional mentors, gain access and resources to make an impact in their academic and professional trajectory. Please join me in welcoming Latina trailblazer and Dominicana Angelica alum. Angelica, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. What an amazing introduction. That was incredible. I love hearing it every time because the kids are always a priority. So thank you for that lovely intro.
Can I just call you Angie? I remember that you were leaving for grad school full time, and that's where we were able to connect. And now you are an executive. You are an example of a Latina that had reached and broken the glass ceiling. Angie, tell us more about yourself and what it is that you do.
Thank you. I always love to start these things by, letting everyone know how blessed I am to even be able to have the introduction that you gave me. I think it's been such a privilege to have the life that I have. So thank you for allowing me to be here with all of you, with your audience, and for that lovely introduction. I am the daughter of two immigrants from the Dominican Republic. I'm the middle child of 9 brothers and sisters, and I come from very humble beginnings. I've lived in Dominican Republic. I've lived, throughout the US. I've lived abroad. I've lived in Asia. I've lived in so many places around the world, and have really learned that, the common denominator between all of us is our inner drive, our inner desire to be great. And so I've really dedicated my life to passing on the things that I've received throughout my journey. I started my journey as a college student with a degree in economics, trying to figure out the career landscape during the 2008 financial crisis. I had to pivot really quickly. I lost a few internships in the financial sector, which was always been my dream. But I was blessed with a great opportunity to work at MTV Networks alongside some brilliant, brilliant individuals. I was there for about 6 years. And then I shot off to business school where I got my MBA and got the courage and the mentorship to really, really pursue my dreams. And so I graduated with my MBA from the Darden School of Business at UVA and went on to work at Citigroup, which was always a dream of mine. I'd always dreamed of working in Wall Street, and since then have moved on to continue my career journey at JP Morgan. In between all of that, noticing, how blessed I have been and how fortunate I've been to have amazing people in my life. My parents taught me drive very early on. My mentors have really taught me how to navigate, a landscape that was very unfamiliar to my upbringing. I thought that it was my duty and obligation to give back to my people, to my community, and unbiased of culture, right? I do focus on my Latina community very, very much, but, pain and insecurity and lack of confidence and lack of drive has no bias to culture or gender. That's something that really impacts everyone. And so I did create the Let Me Be Great Foundation with the hopes that I could connect, I can use this network that I've built throughout the years to connect young professionals, mid-level professionals with the right mentors, with the right resources and the right guidance to open up the doors of opportunity that they didn't know existed. And I've even started a cohort since then, which I've called and launched. It's called the Career Goals Cohort.
And that is, by the way, hashtag career goals? What is career goals?
Yeah, I just started seeing a lot. There'd be a lot of social media and their trends with the hashtags. And when I think of hashtag career goals, I there's so many careers that miss the limelight because maybe they're not the coolest. Maybe they're not, front and center. Right now the really hot thing to be as an influencer or a YouTuber, or like the more hits and likes you have on social media, the cooler you are. And I'm like, well, there's so many amazing careers out there that don't get the spotlight but should, because they're life changing, life enhancing. They can take you all over the world. So I wanted to create an opportunity to highlight and spotlight some of those careers and some real life professionals that are crushing their career goals, and I've labeled them then career goals. So it's a community of women that there's about 25 to 30 women that meet for 10 weeks on a weekly basis to talk about our goals, to talk about our plans, to talk about not just our professional goals, but our personal goals in life. And we navigate those goals together as a community. And I say myself as a facilitator included, because even having time with the women and with the cohort, I had an opportunity to look at my own goals and say, all right, am I pursuing the right goals? Am I happy with my life? And in that 10-week journey, some of the testimonials are fantastic. They're on my website for anyone who's interested in seeing. But the women and their stories of how game changing it was for them to go through this journey with a tribe of women was just so awesome to see. And so now I'm turning that into a program with a goal of creating just a massive community of people who are chasing not just their career goals, but are also, focusing on their personal development as they go on that journey. So it's been phenomenal and amazing. And the women, and in just 10 weeks, feel like we're all family. And, we check in with one another still, and we're tracking each other until the end of the year. And it's been great.
Angelica, shifting the paradigm, how to turn your goals into action. Can you tell us how one can turn their goals into action?
I think that's such a powerful statement of its own, because a shift in paradigm really requires a shift. And it takes us a while to develop a habit. It takes us a while to be consistent in a certain behavior for that behavior to stick. And I feel that the dangerous thing with what we're seeing in society today is that instant gratification has become it's become such a precursor to how people are navigating their goals. If I can't post about it today, I'm just going to give up. If it's not something that's going to get me instant reward, then it's not worth pursuing. And what sucks about that is that the reality of any goal and completing any goal is that you have to be consistent, and it's not going to be an instant success. It's discipline, repetition, and consistent behavior that allows you to create a paradigm to begin with. So imagine then having to shift an already created paradigm. It's going to take even that much more effort to make a shift in a different direction. There's a ton of physics that talks about how to shift momentum, right? There's an actual science to it. But I think when it comes to goals, if we were to take a step back and not overwhelm ourselves with having these like mountains of goals, like these humongous, ginormous goals, and you feel like you have to accomplish them tomorrow, what I did with creating my goal journal was break down those goals into small actionable goals where you can actually track and see success as you navigate the bigger goals, right? Something as simple as, when I wanted to build a website, right? Building a website is a big goal. But if I were to try and just head on that goal without having a plan, it's going to be exhausting. But if I break down that goal to say, okay, I have a website, which means I have a business. Am I incorporated? That's one goal. Let me get incorporated. Two, let me think about the topic of my website. That's another goal. Let me think about what kind of pages or what kind of information I want to offer. That's another goal. Let me, I need to hire a developer. I need to figure out who can actually create this. That's another goal. What developer do I want to use, or what hosting site do I want to use? There's Wix, there's Squarespace, there's WordPress, I got to choose that. That's another goal. So if we then to start to break down our goals into small goals, finish them to completion, then start the next goal, it makes the goal setting process a lot easier. So so much that goes into shifting the paradigm that can't be solved in one sentence, in one conversation. You have to break down why you need to shift to begin with. Where are you today? Where are you right now? And then you need to ask yourself, what is the shift that you need to make? Where do you want to go? Identifying those things are very difficult. And oftentimes we need help identifying it. And a lot of people don't want to get help because seeking help is like, oh my gosh, everybody else looks like they're doing it on their own. No, I have like 10,000 advisors that help me do everything that I do. So, there's so much that goes into shifting a paradigm to turn goals into actions.
We will take a quick break, and when we return, Angelica will provide the techniques on how you could be able to reach your personal and professional goals post-COVID. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. Angelica, what are the steps one should consider when turning their goals into action?
I think before you try to turn anything into an action, you have to define what that thing is. And so you have to have a very vulnerable moment with yourself, which is awesome. It's just a great thing to do, to constantly check in with self and say, hey, self, am I doing the things that I want to be doing? Am I living for me? Am I, whatever your checklist is? For me, my checklist was, am I doing what I'm doing to find some kind of validation? At one point in my career, the answer was yes, right? I wanted to prove to everyone who told me I couldn't do it that I could do it. But then after you do it, there's this really tricky thing that happens that a lot of people don't warn you about. Once you accomplish that goal and you check off that box, you get to a point where you're back to that reflection table and you're asking yourself, oh, do I like what I'm doing? Am I doing it because I love it? Or am I still trying to seek some kind of validation? If you get lucky, then I thank God every day I got lucky that what I love doing is exactly the path that I was always afraid to pursue. If the answer is yes, then it's just going to even elevate your career desires and your goals even more. And now you're back to the drawing table of drawing out what are the next goals and what are the next steps. But if the answer to that question is no, then you have to completely reevaluate the direction that you want to take your life in. Bringing all that experience with you, you don't have to start from scratch. You bring all that experience with you and you ask yourself, where do I want to go next? It's not a total failure. It's not a, oh my God, oh my God. It's a, I've gotten to this point. When there needs to be any kind of shift, you got to ask yourself, where am I and where do I want to go? And depending on where you want to go, then that's the space filler to say, this is the plan to go from where you are to where you want to go, which is what goals are. Goals are, I'm doing this and I want to go accomplish that. And in order for you to know where you're going to and from, you got to know you're to and from. So identifying that this is the place that I'm at, you either love the place that you're at and you continue, or you don't love it and then you continue in a different path, and then you define that path based on where it is that you want to go. So it takes a lot of reflection, vulnerability, reflection, honesty, and the ability to want to work and do the work that's necessary to get you from to the from.
Angie, in your book, How to Turn Your Goals into Action, a simple guide to tracking your success. Can you share with us what motivated you in writing this book?
My book was actually a passion project. I was asked to go speak at a church about, elevating your goals and how can we have more faith in ourselves to, accomplish the things we've always dreamed of accomplishing. And I came with my notebook and I literally showed the congregation, I'm like, look, this is how I do it. I write down my goal, I write down the actions, then I write down what resources I need, and then I affirm I will speak so much success into my goals. I'll just write, you're going to do it. You're going to build the best website on this planet. You just affirm all of your goals. And then they asked me, oh my God, can you turn that into a manual so that we can use it? And literally in 3 days, I obsessed over my computer and I had no idea what I was doing. And I was like, sure, I'll make this a goal. I'm going to create a goal journal for my church. And then, I ended up Googling my life away and I created a template of how I do my goals. And then I made it into this book. And it just, from then on out, people just were so interested in having it because it is really, goal setting does not need to be complicated. We don't need to overcomplicate the process. There are big goals that you can break down into small goals that you can create an action plan against. You know that there are certain actions you need to take for your goals. You know there are certain resources that you need to take. And the most important piece, believe it or not, is affirming the success of your goal. Because if you have all the resources and all the action and you don't believe in what you're doing, that right there is one of the biggest hurdles that we all have. I tell you, in every cohort and every mentor relationship and every person I meet that I talk to about goal setting, it's never, ever, I've yet to meet someone where skill is the issue. It's never a lack of talent. It's never a lack of skill. It's never a lack of gift. It is always lack of belief. And lack of belief shows up in so many different areas before skill even becomes a factor, right? There's so many people out there that are phenomenal at what they do that will never do it because of those things that I just named. So affirming your goals are super important. Telling yourself every day, yes, I'm going to do this. I might fail. Shoot, I might fail horribly, but at least I'm going to try and I'm going to learn something from failing. And that might just give me the best pivot ever. So yeah, it was a passion project that turned into a book that now, I've gone to schools are using it. A lot of my mentees are using it. People are just finding value in it because it really does break down these very big, intimidating goals into small little ones that you can action accordingly.
How do we measure success, Angie? In other words, track success. When do we reach that climax that forces us to shift the mindset?
I think once you've defined what success looks like for you and you really take the time and the effort to ask yourself, what do I define success to be for me? And that looks different for everybody. Success for me is different than it is for you, than it is for the next person. And too often we compare, our success with other people's. It's like, I think it's an Albert Einstein quote. That's one of my favorites, but it's like, if you judge a fish on its ability to climb a wall, that is the most worthless fish you've ever seen. But if you judge a fish on its ability to swim,
Mhm.
now we're talking. It's probably has exceptional ability of swimming. And too often we're fishes trying to climb walls because we're trying to either impress others or because we're letting other people define our success. But I really am a firm believer that we all have something in us that's different. Each and every one of us. God is that great that he can orchestrate billions of people and put something different in every person to say, for you, success means this because this is your purpose. And until you can figure out what that means, you're going to be chasing things that doesn't necessarily mean it'll keep you from your end goal. It just means that for you to get to your end goal, you're going to take a little detour because you'll always fulfill your purpose if you start to really align to it. And if you're on the quest to figure out how to turn a goal into action, you're already in the right step because you're asking the right questions. How can I turn my goal into an action is a great place to be because the first step to do is to define what success means for you. And the second you ask, what is my purpose? You better believe that your purpose is going to start showing up. And sometimes our purpose shows up in a way we love. And sometimes our purpose shows up in a way that makes us want to run in the opposite direction. But you show up. You ask for it. Oh, it's going to come knocking. It's going to say, hey, okay, I'm here. So be careful because it does, it does show up. But that's the beauty of life, that we really were created to have the resources that are there to enable us to fulfill our purpose. So asking that simple question, what does success mean to me? And then working our way from there and us defining that for ourselves and not letting society or not letting anybody else define it. And then most importantly, aligning yourself with the right resources that can provide you the right guidance. I can't tell you how often ego and pride becomes the biggest enemy in our paths. Find someone who is doing what you love to do and is great at it, and humble, I was going to say a curse word, and humble yourself, humble your butt to, to align with somebody that is doing what you're doing and doing it well, because you're going to learn so much. We hate to be the rookies these days. It's unbelievable to me how people want to go from beginner to expert overnight. And it's like, I'll take you for an example. You're running an amazing, wonderful, exceptional show that's giving audiences such great content. Some people will look at you and say, oh, I'm going to start a show tomorrow, and 100 million people are going to watch it tomorrow when I launch it. And it's like, you have no idea how much work goes into a segment. But learn. Come and ask me, hey, how did you launch your show? And then attach yourself to somebody who's doing it and just be willing and ready to learn. And in that learn stage is when you become the expert. But so many people want to pass that learn stage. So there's a lot of things, that come into the journey. It's not just a one size fits all. There's a lot that goes into that.
What additional tips, Angie, can you give us? Now, don't give it away. Additional tips, just two, that can help us attain that vision and reach our goal.
The wonderful thing about that book is that you're really the author. The owner of that book is the author. And I didn't put much in it for that reason. They're literally just pages of where you author your own goals, you author your own story. And in between all of that, I just threw in little affirmations here and there to remind the author of their own story, that they got everything that they need to really figure out the answer. I don't subscribe to this oversaturated coaching culture where people think that somebody else always has the answer. Often we really do have the answer, and we know exactly the direction that we need to go into. Is that we second guess ourselves, or we feel like we always need like this second or third or fourth validation. Sometimes yes, we do, but oftentimes we know within ourselves how to come up with our plan. And when you don't, one goal that's always useful is asking for the right help, asking for the right guidance, asking for, and aligning yourself in places that brings the right kind of mentorship into your journey. But more often than not, we are more than capable of doing a lot more than we give ourselves credit for. And so I just, that journal, literally, I remember one of the first critiques, because I love critiques, I got on the journal was like, oh man, I can make this myself. And I'm like, fantastic. That's the goal. Go and make one. Like, if you think you can make one, go and make it so much better. I made this in 3 days with the hopes that it inspired somebody to be great. Like, if you think you can make one better, boom, there's your calling. Go make a phenomenal journal that is exceptional, that somebody can use and be changed forever. That literally is the goal in life, is just let me give you a little bit, and then you take that and go be amazing. And if that means you're more amazing than woo, even better. I tell my mentees that all the time. This example should be your floor, not your ceiling. It should be where you start from. You see all the things that your mentors, I as your facilitator have been able to accomplish. That should be your ground floor of where you start. And you should really catapult that by a long shot and then pay it forward. So yeah, the book is really meant to be authored by whoever owns it. And, I encourage people to look through it once they finish it and just see how much they were able to accomplish. And it should be a rewarding experience for the person, not for me as the creator, but for the person who fills in the pages with their accomplishments. So it's been great. The stories I get were worth the 3 days of labor.
For more information on the book, Angie, where can we purchase the book?
My book is on Amazon. It's Turn Your Goals into Actions. You can also get it through my website. So my website is just my first and last name, angelicaalam.com. All of my handles are angelicaalam.com, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all that fun, jazzy stuff. So you can find all the information there.
Thank you so much for joining us, Angie. It was a pleasure to have you. As you may know, Bellas Fashionistas is your home.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Be sure to follow us on social media at Bellas Fashionistas and our media partner at BronxNet TV. To watch more of our programming, please visit our websites at bellasfashionistas.com and our media partner at bronxnet.org. Please be safe. Have a great day.